Before we start, I need you to hear this clearly. If the world feels loud right now, not just noisy, but demanding, like everything wants a piece of you and nothing ever really sees you, you're not imagining it, and you're not weak for feeling tired. So don't try to fix anything yet. Don't promise yourself change. Just sit with me for a moment. This isn't the lesson, it's a story. And if you're listening, it's for you. The world doesn't start loud, it becomes loud. At first, it's just background noise. People talking, notifications chiming, expectations forming quietly where you're not looking. You learn early that silence is suspicious. If you're quiet, someone assumes something's wrong. If you slow down, someone asks what you're avoiding. So you move, you respond, you adapt. And before you know it, your life has a soundtrack you didn't choose. I didn't always notice it. The noise, I mean. I thought it was just how things were. Work being work. Relationships being complicated. Effort being necessary. You show up. You do what's asked. Sometimes more than what's asked. And you tell yourself, that's enough. But there's a moment, and it doesn't arrive dramatically, where you realize no one is really listening anymore. They hear results. They hear performance. They hear compliance. They don't hear you. And that realization doesn't explode. It sinks. It shows up late at night, when everything finally stops moving, when the noise fades just enough for a question to surface. If I disappeared tomorrow, would anything actually change? That's not self-pity. That's exhaustion speaking honestly. I remember the first time that question didn't scare me. It just felt heavy. Work became a place where effort was expected, not noticed, where loyalty was assumed, but rarely returned, where speaking up meant being labeled difficult, and staying quiet meant being overlooked. You learn quickly that politics don't announce themselves. They smile, they nod, they let you believe you're safe, until you're not. But it wasn't just work, it never is. Relationships began to feel transactional. Support was conditional. Care seemed available only when it was convenient. You give patience. You give understanding. You give the benefit of the doubt. So many times it starts to feel like a reflex instead of a choice. And still, you're taken for granted. Not maliciously, quietly. That's the part no one prepares you for. Betrayal isn't always a knife. Sometimes it's absence. Sometimes it's silence where loyalty used to be. Sometimes it's realizing that the people you would have stood up for never planned to stand up for you. And the noise keeps going. Bills don't pause for heartbreak. Deadlines don't care about disillusionment. The world doesn't slow down because you're carrying something heavy. So you keep walking, not heroically, not optimistically, just forward. There were days I thought about stopping, not in a dramatic way, more like wondering what would happen if I simply stopped trying so hard, stopped caring so deeply, stopped planting effort where nothing seemed to grow. Because that's what it felt like sowing seeds into ground that refused to change. You show up with integrity, nothing grows. You choose honesty, nothing grows. You choose restraint instead of reaction, nothing grows. At some point, you start asking yourself if you're foolish for believing anything ever will. But here's the thing no one tells you. Faith doesn't feel strong while you're carrying it. It feels quiet, unimpressive, almost unreasonable. Faith is putting one foot in front of the other without applause, without reassurance, without proof. It's not believing things will get better. It's choosing not to become bitter while they haven't. There were nights I wanted the noise to swallow me, just so I wouldn't have to hear my own thoughts anymore. And there were mornings I stood up anyway, not because I felt hopeful, but because something in me refused to harden. I didn't know why at the time. I just knew this. If the world was going to stay loud, I didn't want to become cruel just to survive it. So I kept planting seeds, not loudly, not performatively, quiet things, consistency, restraint, listening when it would have been easier to withdraw, showing up when it would have been easier to disappear. I planted them in conversations that went nowhere, in workplaces that never thanked me, in relationships that never fully saw me. And most days, nothing grew. At least nothing I could see, but I kept walking, not because I was certain, but because something deeper than certainty was guiding me. You don't need to understand that yet. For now, just know this. If you're listening to this while feeling unseen, unappreciated, or quietly tired in a world that never seems to slow down, you're not alone in that experience. And this story didn't start with hope. It started with endurance. Imagine living your entire life in a house built right next to a highway. At first, the sound is unbearable. Engines roaring day and night, horns, brakes, vibrations through the walls. You think no one could live like this. But slowly, something strange happens. You adapt. You raise your voice without realizing it. You stop noticing how tense your shoulders are. You learn to sleep through the noise, not because it's gone, but because your nervous system gives up fighting it. Visitors come over and ask, "How do you stand this?" And you honestly don't know how to answer, because you've never known quiet. That's what the world feels like now. The constant opinions, the expectations, the comparisons, the pressure to perform, respond, keep up. The noise never stops. And the danger isn't that it's loud. The danger is that you start believing this is just how life sounds. You stop asking whether peace is possible. You stop listening for your own thoughts. You stop noticing the exhaustion of always being alert. Until one day, you step far enough away to realize the noise was never inside you. You were just living too close to it.